Call the meeting to order. We are going to welcome everyone to the Novi Board of Education regular meeting. Today is September 10th, and we want to say welcome back to school and to our new school year. So, Mr. Mena, if we can get a roll call vote, that would be great.
Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Hood.
Here.
Trustee Mena. Here. Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ruskin.
Here.
And Trustee Smith is absent excused.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mena. If I can call for a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
I will approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
By Mr. Cook, supported by Mrs. Roney. We can get a roll call vote, Mr. Mena.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena. Yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
And Trustee Ruskin.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. First on our agenda, we have comments from the audience related to agenda items. Due to being on Zoom, these comments had an opportunity to be submitted through Google Forms. Comments are not meant to be responded to directly from board members, and we have a time limit of 5 minutes. So, Dr. Matthews, do we have any comments from the audience tonight?
We have no comments from the audience this evening.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent items. And if I can get a motion, yeah. On the consent items tonight, we have approval of the minutes, regular meeting minutes of August 20th and September 3rd. We have the approval of the bills, the board report, the check register for July 2020, and purchase card report for May 30, 2020 through June 30th, 2020. If I can get a motion?
Motion to approve consent items as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena, supported by Mr. Cook. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena. Yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next, we will move on to our action items. Tonight, we have 2 items for action. The first one being the personnel report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Tonight's personnel report is mercifully brief, and we will turn it over to Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. This evening, we have 1 position change and 1 resignation. The position change is Janice Janke. She is a bus driver in transportation and is moving she'll become a substitute bus driver. And 1 resignation is Samantha Jodoin, a special education parapro at the high school.
We can't hear you, Danielle.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. If we can get a motion, please. Mr. Cook?
I'll move that we approve the personnel recommendation or personnel report as recommended.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Murphy. Any questions or discussion on this? Okay. Mr. Cook?
The bus driver, I assume, is going from a substitute to full-time?
The other way around.
And how are we?
The full-time driver is going to become a substitute.
Okay, so how are we doing with full-time bus drivers? Because we had a couple resign last.
Well, to meet our needs, we're currently adequately staffed, but we will certainly be adding as we move forward through the school year.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cook and Dr. Kinzer. Any other questions or discussion points? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Mena, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook,
Yes.
Trustee Hood,
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Roney,
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next on our action items, we have the OCSBA resolutions and bylaws recommendation. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Each year, the OCSBA Resolutions Committee reviews the bylaws and recommends amendments to the Board of Directors and member districts. This year, OCSBA found that the bylaws placed restrictions on the way that we conducted our business during the pandemic. Several of the proposed amendments address those restrictions during any declared local, state, or national emergency. The Board of Directors has reviewed the proposed amendments and approves moving these recommendations forward for a vote of our member districts. In accordance with our bylaws, each member district Board of Education has one vote to approve the recommended amendments. The voting period is designated as August 1st, 2020 to Friday, September 11th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Results of the voting will be announced at the September 16th, 2020 membership meeting. There were 3 attachments to this board information. One was the ballot. The second was a summary of the changes and rationale for each recommendation. And the third was a highlighted bylaw document showing all of the proposed changes. So tonight this comes before the board for you to either approve or not approve. And whichever way you vote, we will forward it to the appropriate personnel at the OCSBA and Oakland schools.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If I can get a motion, Mrs. Murphy?
Yeah, I will move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve all bylaw amendments as presented.
Can I get a support? Okay. Recommended by Mrs. Murphy, supported by Mr. Mena. Any questions? I know we had an opportunity to have this for information discussion last time and everybody to look at this. I know that they're eager at OCSBA to get our vote because they reached out to us, and I know after we vote tonight, Sheila will get that information over to them right away. Seeing no hands raised, I think that we'll be ready for a roll call vote. Mr. Mena.
Trustee Cook,
Yes.
Trustee Hood,
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Roney,
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Next, we have our one item for information and discussion. Tonight, we will have the extended learning plan discussion. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. On August 20th, 2020, Governor Whitmer signed into law Public Act 149. Section 98A states that in order to receive state aid for 2020-2021, districts must provide for instruction under an extended COVID-19 learning plan that has been approved by an intermediate school district or authorizing body. The plan does not replace the district's COVID-19 preparedness and response plan. It is an additional plan. The extended COVID-19 learning plan has the following set of assurances that the district must agree to as part of the plan. Assurance 1, the district will make their ISD authorizing body approved extended COVID learning plan accessible through the transparency reporting link located on the district's website no later than October 1st, 2020. The district will create and make available on its transparency reporting link located on the district's website a report concerning the progress made in meeting the educational goals contained in the extended COVID-19 learning plan not later than February 1st, 2021 for goals that expected would be achieved by the middle of the school year and not later than the last day of the school year of 2020-2021 school year for the goals the district expected would be achieved by the end of the school year. benchmark assessments. The district will select a benchmark assessment or benchmark assessments that are aligned to state standards, administer the approved benchmark assessment or local benchmark assessment on any combination thereof to all pupils in grades K-8 to measure proficiency in reading and math within the first 9 weeks of the 2020-2021 school year, and again, not later than the last day of the 2020-2021 school year. If delivering pupil instruction virtually, the district will provide pupils with equitable access to technology and the internet necessary to participate in instruction, and expose each pupil to the academic standards that apply for each pupil's grade level or courses in the same scope and sequence as the district had planned for that exposure to occur for in-person instruction. The district, in consultation with local health department, will develop guidelines concerning appropriate methods for delivering pupil instruction for the 2020-2021 school year that are based on local data that are based on key metrics. Those key metrics are identified as COVID-19 cases or positive COVID-19 tests, hospitalizations due to COVID-19, number of deaths resulting from COVID-19 over a 14-day period, COVID-19 cases for each day for each 1 million individuals, the percentage of positive COVID-19 tests over a 4-week period, health capacity strength, testing, tracing, and containment infrastructure with regard to COVID-19. If the district determines that it is safe to provide in-person instruction, the district will prioritize providing in-person instruction to pupils in grades K to 5 who are enrolled in the district. The district assures that instruction will be delivered as described in this plan and reconfirmed by the district board. The description of instructional delivery in this plan matches the delivery of instruction to be delivered during the 2020-2021 school year. The district will reconfirm how instruction will be delivered during the 2020-2021 school year 30 days after ISD approval of the plan, and every 30 days thereafter at a meeting of the board, and public comment will be solicited from parents or legal guardians of the pupils enrolled in the district during a public meeting described in PA 149. The district will ensure that students with disabilities will be provided with equitable access to instruction and accommodation in accordance with applicable state and federal laws, rules, and regulations. And the district will ensure that two-way interactions occur between pupils enrolled in the district and the pupil's teacher, or at least one of the pupil's teachers during each week of the school year for at least 75% of the pupils enrolled in the district. The district will publicly announce its weekly interaction rates at each district board meeting where it reconfirms how instruction is being delivered. The district will make those rates available through the transparency reporting link located on the district website each month for the 2020-2021 school year. And we bring this to the board tonight for information and discussion, and the board will be asked to approve the plan on September 24th in order to comply with the requirement to have the plan approved by the ISD no later than October 1st. And if you go through the material that's been provided you will see the template that has been provided to the district to create its extended COVID learning plan. On page 3 of the extended COVID learning plan are the assurances. They're on page 3 and 4. And the president of the Board of Education has to sign this and date it for us to submit the plan. And then on page 5 is the opening narrative, which identifies the reason why we need this extended COVID learning plan. And there's 3 significant reasons. One is the closure of the school since March 16th was traumatic for students, families, and staff. A complete online learning was provided from March 16th through June 12th, 2020. We anticipate that many students may have gaps in their learning. And the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated issues related to the equity of learning opportunity among our students. And so we also recognize that there will be a mental health component to this, and we describe that in some depth there in that opening statement. And we also identify that parents were given a choice of either hybrid or virtual learning this year. And so that's our opening kind of statement. Under the educational goals, we identify that there are really 2 sets of educational goals that we're focused on. One is curricular subject-specific goals, and those are clearly identified in our Atlas Rubicon, which is our online curriculum warehouse. And we provide an example there of a 3rd grade math curricular goal. But specifically, the COVID-19 learning, extended COVID-19 learning plan asks for benchmark assessments. And our benchmark assessments are the iReady K6, NWEA 712, and DRC in grades 11, 12. And so these assessments will be given during the first 9 weeks of school. It is somewhat ironic that we have to have the educational goals identified by September 15th when we don't have to have the assessments given to the students except through the first 9 weeks of school. So we really don't have the data from the assessments available yet to establish benchmark assessment goals, because obviously this is the first week of school and September 15th is Tuesday. And so it's really not possible for us to give those benchmark assessments this week and be able to analyze them and create specific goals out of those before the due date for the educational goals identified in the legislation. But what we have done is we have identified that there will be 2 primary goals for students in grades K through 8, and that would be to improve on their benchmark assessment performance in reading and English language arts from fall to spring. And also the second goal would be for students to improve their benchmark assessment performance in math from fall to spring. The third section is really talks about instructional delivery, and this basically describes our plan that we will have a hybrid learning option for students and that we'll also have a virtual learning option for students this year. The fourth is a description of our the core academic areas, and again we revert back to the Atlas Rubicon, which details in depth what our core academic instruction is really like. And these online learning resources have been developed by our teachers, and they have guided our teachers over the summer as they prepared our instructional units for this fall. And then in addition, we've received some guidance from Oakland schools about online and virtual instruction. There is a section that we have to describe what our how we will grade and report to our parents. And what we're saying is we're basically going to grade and report as we have in the past. And we'll continue to utilize our prior grading and reporting practices. MyStar will be the vehicle for delivery, and we'll use Schoology and Seesaw to provide ongoing feedback to our students and to our parents. Equitable access is asked for, and we believe that we have communicated well with our parents, and we've distributed over 6,000 devices to our community through the end of last week. We have one last opportunity for parents to pick up devices next week. And we are also asking our principals to identify students that may not have access, and we will ensure that they have access through our technology department. And then the special ed department, we describe how we're providing equitable access, our virtual IEP process, the service logs, the virtual service logs that our providers are continuing to complete as they provide service to our students. And so we ensure that our special education students are a part of this process, whether they're hybrid students or whether they're virtual students. And then we provide some additional information on our MTSS 504 process. And we also provide some additional information about our English language development program for our students in those programs. And so this is the extended learning plan template that was required from the state of Michigan. And if there are questions that the board has about this template, we would be happy to answer them. Dr. Weber and his Office of Academics team has been heavily involved in developing this extended COVID learning plan. But this is the plan that we would bring back to the board on September 24th for the board to approve so that we can get it to Oakland schools so that they can approve it by the deadline of October 1st. Dr. Ruskin.
I'd like to say, wow, that was a lot to have happen in the last probably week to 10 days or so, or a couple weeks, with the ongoing work that's being done to bring our kids back to school safely and to have our virtual learners start in a positive way. So thank you for all the work that's been done, Dr. Weber, with you and your team. I'm going to open it up for discussion. If anyone has any questions specific to the learning plan, this is our opportunity to ask any questions that we may have going forward. So, Mrs. Murphy?
Just a quick one. Is there any question to whether or not the ISD will approve it? I mean,
we've received a template from the ISD about how they will go through and look for certain key elements. we believe that we have identified all of those in our plan, and so we don't believe there's any concern about them approving it. It really is a kind of a paperwork process more than it is, and I'll say this, whether or not it's politically acceptable. It seems like they just, I mean, we already had a COVID preparedness plan. We already had an extended discussion this summer about what our plan was going to be. We already had a plan to distribute technology well before this legislation was passed. And so it seems like we just had to put it together in one place. But the reality is we already had all of this in place. And so we just had to complete the paperwork, if you will. You know, our responsibility is to educate the students in our district. Dr. Weber and his team, the CAL, you know, the content area leaders that we have, all of the effort that they've given since March 16th to return to school is encapsulated in this plan. But this plan clearly doesn't identify all of the blood, sweat, and tears that our teachers and our administrators have done to prepare for the return to school. And to give this to districts, you know, quite honestly, on October or August 21st, and then expect them to complete it, you know, by October 1st seems a bit silly when our effort over the last 2 weeks has been really focused on ensuring that we started school well. And I believe we have started school well. And so the plan represents that, but honestly, it feels like it was a requirement that we had to check off, you know, that somebody was going to look at. But the reality is there's a whole lot more behind this plan than is presented in the paperwork. And I don't know if Dr. Weber would have any other comments or not.
No, I'm going to reserve my comments for the assistant superintendent's report. Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Go to speak and I forget to unmute myself. I guess I kind of agree, because when I read through this, it looked like it was kind of a redundancy of what we had already done. And I guess I want to give kudos to the administration and all the hard work that everybody has done all along to be basically ahead of what they wanted. So all you had to do was check the boxes and say, yeah, we've done it. So, you know, it's just, it's one of those governmental things that, you know, sometimes we have to do. So really appreciate the hard work that went in ahead of time. And this just shows on top of things. So,
well, thank you.
Good, guys.
We can't hear you, Danielle, right now, but I believe you said Mrs. Hood.
I did. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
You have to like make a little, it's like the motion when the lights go off if you haven't talked enough. I don't know. Mrs. Hood, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, we have a lot of new teachers to Novi. We have a lot of teachers new to Novi and a lot of new teachers to teaching. And I know that Mr. Langley, as the mentor coordinator, has been communicating a lot, and I appreciate being copied on that. So it's interesting to see some of all the back work that goes in. But can you speak a little bit to, in this new teaching environment, do we have some enhanced support, or what's our support going to be for our, I'll say, newbies in the district?
I'll turn to Dr. Kinzer, and then we would turn to Dr. Weber to provide some kind of insight into what we're doing to support not only new teachers, but almost every teacher, because they're all teaching in ways that are different than they did even during the spring when we were completely virtual. So I'll turn first to Dr. Kinzer.
So today we posted our Tier 1 and Tier 2 mentor positions. So we do have a very strong mentoring program. This will be year 3 in our more robust model. And we will undoubtedly receive great interest in those those mentor positions. We will assign mentors to our Tier 1 mentees. And Tier 1, these are our teachers who are either in their first year of teaching altogether, or perhaps they have some experience elsewhere, but this is their first year in Novi. Tier 2 are our year 2 and year 3 teachers. And it's a tiered model. We provide one-to-one support for our tier 1 mentees, as well as our Mentee Monday professional development series. Tier 2 is more of a PLC model, where a mentor will have 2, 3, sometimes even 4 mentees that he or she works with closely in a PLC model. We found that our second and third year mentees don't need the same level of support as our tier 1s. So this year, we will be doing our Mentee Monday series, at least initially, via Zoom. We had the opportunity last spring to do our final Mentee Monday session on Zoom, and it really worked beautifully. We utilized breakout rooms to organize into smaller groups, and we'll be using that same technology this year. So those postings run through Monday, and then we will assign mentors to our new mentees. I make those final decisions with significant input from Brian Langley, Rhonda Hoffman, as well as our principals and directors. And we certainly collect a lot of input from both our mentees as well as our mentors, and are constantly evaluating the program we have and looking for opportunities to strengthen it. And I feel like this year, you're right, Mrs. Hood, we will need to be mindful of the very specific forms of support that our teachers might need, and we will be paying attention to what we hear from them and doing our very best to respond as best we can in the moment.
Dr. Weber, additional thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say that really this year is like a first year of teaching for all of us. A first year of being a superintendent, a first year of being an assistant superintendent. We're one of 2 community school districts in the entire county that are going face-to-face and virtual. We did this, if you start with August 6th, when the board voted this in and did this by September 3rd, it's actually pretty unreal. My people are exhausted. They are absolutely, they're proud of themselves and of our teachers, but the cost that this effort had on the people I work beside is significant. I'll say a little more about this towards the end, but really from a fundamental standpoint, the function that I think that, for instance, the cabinet has is to help our administrators understand that we do not expect them to have this all figured out in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, that we do not expect our teachers to move along like nothing has happened, and that they're supposed to continue to offer everything that they offered March 12th on September 8th. Unfortunately, I think that some of our community believes that that is possible. And I'll reserve my comments for that, but I couldn't be any prouder of our teachers and administrators. And this really is a first year for all of us right now. It's pretty interesting when a board member from a local community calls us the district to the north and praises us for what we pulled off. I saw that in the newspaper today. But if we think that that happened without a significant cost to the people I serve beside, we're fooling ourselves. And so Steve and Gary and Greg and I really have to stay on point to let our staff know that the level of support goes way beyond formal and into an aura of appreciation and gratitude for what people have done to get us here, and to take a step back and realize that we are still working within a pandemic, that our kids need us to be level and balanced. Steve said this to me earlier in the week, this notion that being level right now is really important for all of us. And as such, we need to let our teachers know who, I participated with my own son last night in the open house. And hearing them and the teachers, just what they're willing to give for our kids is stunning. And I think that that many people who aren't in education and don't know what we've done in less than a month, I think if they could know, they would be in awe beyond anything. And I'd also ask the, community members who expect everything to kind of sink in within a day, give us at least a week to try to bed in and get things moving. That's something that I really wish people would have a little bit more grace. So my concern and my worry, Kathy, is much more about these teachers who are going to try to feel, because we're all in our first year, including Dr. Matthews, believe it or not. Hair might fool you, but he's in his first year here. I mean, this is genuinely a first year experience. We're one of the only school districts in the entire state to offer in-person summer school. That was back in July. We were one of the only districts to offer in-person summer care all summer. Those decisions all had a cost on our staff. So while I appreciate the appreciation and I appreciate people saying, golly, you guys have done a great job, what I really need is for people to let us do what we need to do to get us flowing and moving, where people can bet into what we're doing. That's what I need from this community for our teachers, our administrators, our lunch service people. And I'll say this, Dr. Matthews made a very courageous move to make the move to have our kids come. A lot of his colleagues were bailing out really early, not willing to kind of be patient, not willing to think this through. The benefit that I've seen this week to both the kids who are in virtual and their families, I've called a bunch of families just informally in the past few days to ask them how things are going. And then the students who are here in the hybrid setting and need to be at school, it's amazing to see. If you look around the county, many of the districts, the teachers are teaching from home. There's nobody in the district. Today, what is our food service doing? People are pulling up to the high school and they're getting lunches to go. Our bus drivers are smiling over at Meadows, welcoming kids on the buses, making sure they're getting on the right buses. It can't be overstated what this team has pulled off in less than a month. And I'll save the time at the end now and just say this. Like, one thing I'm going to say to Dr. Matthews, the board, and the community is we really need to think about this notion of this November 6th date, how we're going to approach that, how we're going to attend to it. It is not easy to schedule a high school. We are still offering every single elective that we offered pre-pandemic. Think about that. We are offering 2 parallel education programs right now without 1 additional staff member. We are. I have seen high school administrators, elementary administrators spend, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 days in a row in their office to pull us off and to make it work. So I think we need to be mindful that we cannot switch back and forth with this ease, this perception of ease. I think it takes a good 6 weeks for kids to get comfortable and into systems by the time we get our systems working. So I hope we have these conversations regularly. I thank you for giving me the time to say these things. There's so many people we can thank. And, Steve, I think we feel badly that we probably don't thank enough people, because really it's everybody. It's Mike Dragoo and it's Jacob McDermott, and it's our transportation department, our food service departments, our paraprofessionals, it's our special education, it's the people who serve students with the 504s, it's the teachers who have extreme anxiety but are still coming here to teach because that's what they love to do. And so much love to everybody in the system who's pulled together. For the parents who've called and thanked us, we thank you very much. For the parents who've called and been less understanding with their staff, I would ask you to have a little bit of grace and kindness towards our staff, as they're working really hard to produce for our kids. So I'm open to any questions or comments on this as well. And Paul and Steve, you're 100% right on that report. We already had a lot of that in the can. I think it was a perfunctory thing the government wanted us to do. Unfortunately, we were able to do it. Thanks.
Can't hear you, Danielle.
Yeah, it was quiet for too long again.
There we go.
Any questions specifically for Dr. Weber or in regards to the plan or comments? We will have an opportunity during comments from board comments, but just specific to this, do we have any? No? Okay. Dr. Weber, thank you for your heartfelt words there, and I'm sure you'll have a little more to say, but we do appreciate you just really giving us, I would call it the down low, it's probably not an appropriate word, but on how things are really feeling and going in the district.
Right. Thank you, President Ruskin. I think one thing you know about me, having worked with me and served with me, is I am not going to hold back from those things. I think what we do is too important. You know, that notion of self-care as well. And I said this at the last board meeting, but, the board deserves a tremendous amount of credit in the sense that, while I'm sure that you wish that we could have made the decision a bit earlier to give us more time to do this, a lot of people were putting pressure on you to make decisions in haste. And instead, the way you conducted yourself as a school board, especially as you look around the county and see how some of the other school boards treat. But it is kind of nice that we're getting credit from another school board, right? Like they're praising us. We won't say what school district that is that's a touch to the south of us. But anyway, Danielle, your leadership has been deeply appreciated as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so if I don't see any more comments or questions specific to this information and discussion plan, this will come back to us at our next meeting and we will vote on it at this time. So we will move on to our next opportunity for comments from the audience. Dr. Matthews, do we have any comments from the audience?
There are no additional comments.
Okay, thank you. And we will just let you roll right into your superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Tonight is an opportunity for me to extend thanks to a wide variety of people. One would be to thank our parents and students for the great start to this most unusual school year. Whether students are hybrid or virtual, we have had a great start to the school year. Parents obviously prepared their children well. Students are being very responsible. Masks are being worn, protocols are being followed, both in person and virtually. Most importantly, learning is occurring. I also would like to thank teachers who have done a tremendous job of preparing for the school year. I've seen lessons that are being taught, and I am well aware of the time and effort it took to create and develop the strategies needed to help our students be successful. I visited every building this week and popped into classrooms and saw and had a conversation with a kindergarten teacher who said she had just spent an hour with her kindergarten students and they were then on a break. And so I was able to chat with her for a minute, and they had introduced themselves, they had counted, they had sang songs, and she said that things were going very well. But I also walked into another classroom and it was about 10:15, and they had been going at it for about an hour and 15 minutes. And the teacher, the students had gone off to their special, and that teacher looked at me and she said, "I'm exhausted. Teaching this way is hard work." But she was doing the job, and she was excited that students were learning. And then I also saw, classrooms with 10, 12, 15 students in them, all appropriately social distanced, all with their mask on, all having wiped their desk with disinfectant wipes, and learning was occurring in those classrooms. And it was, and students were excited to be there, to see each other, to talk to each other, to interact with the teachers. So I would like to thank the teachers for all the things that they have done to make this school year start so well. And our administrative team, as Dr. Weber has mentioned, spent a great deal of time preparing for the school year, whether it was creating schedules, many schedules, planning protocols, managing student and parental expectations. Our administrative team really has stepped up and done a tremendous job. Also, our Oakland Schools collaborative that we have in our tech department has paid huge dividends. We distributed, as I mentioned, over 6,000 devices to our community members. Students have access, and I've seen the devices at school. It was a huge undertaking, and it is going to make a tremendous difference. Food service has also been working hard. Yuval Gazzarato and her team are not only serving our students in school, they are preparing and serving students on the days they are not in school. And I was at the high school this week, and I saw cars lined up to get food from our food service department to take home to their families. Transportation on Tuesday morning, I got there early, and they were out in the pouring rain getting their buses ready for the first day of school. And there was not one word of complaint among all of those drivers. They told me they were excited to go see their, and they used that word, their kids, because they had not seen them since March. Maintenance department was focused on preparing our buildings so that they were safe, and they did a tremendous job. Our protocols are very strong. And finally, the Board of Education really did push us to move forward and provide great opportunities for our students. And that push for us was greatly appreciated. And I believe that we really have come together as a district and met the challenge that is before us. Are there some bumps? Yes, there obviously are. Are there things we need to improve? Yes, there are. But we have had a solid start to the school year, thanks to our community, students, parents, and staff. Finally, we had a community member wonder about the revised minutes of the July 16th board meeting. Those minutes are now posted on the board meeting schedule page at the bottom of the page. And so if anybody is interested in those, they can find them there. And that's my report this evening, Dr. Ruskin. Wave at your, there you go.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. You are greatly appreciated, and no words can really express that. So we will move on to our administrative reports, and we will start with Mr. McIntyre.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just real briefly, just want to some financial issues here. We sold 5 of our buses, the old buses, for $33,500 via the auction. We had our compliance testing done on the sinking fund and the capital projects fund, and we passed both tests. A little bit about the consensus revenue estimating conference. We got updated information back on August 24th, and we have some great news. I won't get into the details, but it appears that the school aid fund is a lot healthier than we thought it would be. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it looks like we have some great news coming there. The wild card is still how we're going to handle the Flint water settlement. So if that comes into play, that's going to hurt us a little bit, but we don't know if that's going to come into play for sure or not. But the last thing I want to say is I've been here almost 2 months, and I want to say I'm very happy to be with the school district. I am so energized. I work with the greatest team. Every day I'm coming in, I'm looking how we're going to rebound and keep the success going here, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you for letting me share and be a part of this wonderful district moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. We are thrilled. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. We're thrilled to have you here, and we know that you were really just thrown in, feet first, head first, and we appreciate all the hours and the effort that you've put in over the last couple months here with our district. So thank you again, and thanks for your report. Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. I had a hole in my calendar today that allowed me to spend some time in school buildings, and I just wanted to share with you what I saw. My comments, I think, will be familiar because they're very similar to comments made by both Dr. Weber and Dr. Matthews. I visited 3 of our buildings today. I was at Novi Woods, I was at Novi Meadows, and Deerfield, and I observed a lot of things. I saw a lot of student engagement. Students were all masked and appropriately social distanced. I saw engaged interaction in classrooms. I saw students on the playground having a great time. I saw 6th grade students on the sidewalk. Each student had his or her own concrete block square that they were decorating. I observed students in lunchrooms, 2 to a round table. I have to tell you, it was a little eerie because I've spent a lot of lunch hours in cafeterias, and these were the quietest cafeterias I've ever been in, but students were having a great time. I talked to teachers, both hybrid and virtual, who shared the joy of being back with their students as well as the challenges they face, planning both virtual and hybrid instruction. I talked to administrators who were sharing that this is providing them unique opportunities to interact on a more personal level with students because of the numbers they have in their buildings. All in all, it was really a wonderful 3 hours or so that I was able to spend in buildings for the first time since March with students in them. So I guess my culminating message is similar to one you've heard already, but thank you very much for your leadership. And thank you to Dr. Matthew and Dr. Weber for theirs, and for the decision we made to provide an in-person option for our community. Proof today was there that this is the right decision for many of our students. And the virtual option is also a great option for many of our students as well. But I saw evidence that really high quality instruction is happening in week 1 in Novi. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinzer. Sorry, I keep doing that. It's ridiculous. But thank you, Dr. Kinzer, and thank you for visiting buildings. I'm certain that teachers probably love to see your smiling face at their door. I know that they count on you and they come to you with confidential things and just to kind of be their support system. So I'm sure they were thrilled to have you visiting and, showing your care and compassion for all the work that's being done. Next, Dr. Weber, do you have any further comments?
Yeah, just some technical comments. September 16th will be a half day. That's a Wednesday. It's a virtual day for everybody. But we want to give our staff the opportunity to have a good 3.5 hours to talk about that first week and really see what we can do to make adjustments. Biggest issues we have right now are really hybrid, virtual at the high school. I'd mentioned, we actually have 49 teachers at the high school who are teaching classes that are both hybrid and virtual because they're what we call singleton classes or combo classes. And that's because we're offering everything. So in order to try to make that work, we have to find out how to do so, what instructional modalities. So that's where we're going to need a little bit of time to figure that out in a way that makes sense for every teacher and child. Also, the way we started off our impact professional development was a focus on social emotional learning and really educator self-care. And the reason for that, really beyond the educator self-care part, is this idea that we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of our kids. And that as a parent, that's also very true. The Novi Community Coalition partnered to deliver 500 copies of The Deepest Well by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. And that's really a gift to our staff to read that. And I know you've read that, Danielle, and I know Bobby's read that book. So it's a wonderful book, and we'll get some copies for the board as well, people who haven't read it. I know Tom Smith has read it. I gave it to him last spring. So that focus is there. And then I've been into a few classrooms and assured our students that we will also be attending to racial justice issues. That since the death of George Floyd, that our nation has seen something that in my 50 years I have not seen with this duration, and how important it is. I personally, sincerely believe that this is going to be a movement and not a moment. And for us not to have conversations with our students and staff about these issues or the issues of the pandemic would be a huge mistake, and is not one that we are going to make. First, we need to get launched. We need to get moving, but those are things we're going to attend to. Our teachers and our students are really the bottom line here. And I said this before, in my mind, our customers are our kids. All due respect, parents, I love you. I'm a Novi parent. But what I want our staff to always think about is how are we serving the children in front of us? That's it, right? If we are keeping that as our North Star, that the decisions that we are making are to serve our students, not necessarily the convenience of a parent, but the needs of a student, then we are going to be golden. The teachers who have spent so much time and so much love, again, you can hear the worry in my voice because I think they're pushing themselves to have some expectations of service that I want and need them to pace themselves. So from a student and a staff standpoint, from the technical aspects of the 16th, which we'll communicate with parents, as well as what we're doing at the high school and middle school to work on those singleton classes. Thank you to everyone, the board, the community. And this is truly, truly a great place. And if I didn't say it 2 other times, it is really neat to have other school board members envy the work we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Thank you, Dr. Weber. It's like a cleaning situation, but I'm not cleaning anything. Again, we appreciate you so much. Do any board members have any communication or comments? Mrs. Murphy?
I'll just comment really quickly, just as a follow-up. Having walked pretty regularly in my neighborhood and run into many of my neighbors whose kids have started school, resoundingly, they are feeling really good about it, whether they're virtual or hybrid. So I just want to say kudos to you. One mom said she couldn't believe it. Like her son came home and said it was the best day ever. And she said he's not very demonstrative. So I was like, well, what happened? She said, it was just the best day. So we're doing some really great things. Our teachers are attending to kids, are making connections. Obviously, another parent whose son's in high school and just started high school said she couldn't get him to stop talking, which, those of you that have boys, I mean, good things like it's unusual. So people are hungry for the connection. And I think that, that is going to serve us to have sent our kids back, those that are able to go and to be able to make those connections again with kids. And so just kudos to everybody. I mean, it's obviously it takes a village, and certainly Dr. Matthews, your leadership, lots of kudos to you too for the back to school video, which was just phenomenal, being shared everywhere, all over social media. And I appreciated that you really sent that out to everyone this time. I think that was a really, I think we should do that every time, quite honestly, because I think it's an inspirational welcome back to get us in the right frame of mind. And certainly it's unfortunate if there are parents that are, I guess, not as grace-filled, but a lot of that I got to believe is kind of our own kind of the anxiety that's going on in everybody's lives, that it just is infecting so many things. So let's all take care of ourselves, including you all, right? And make sure that, like Dr. Weber said, the focus is always just on the kids and what we can do to make this the best for them, because this is certainly going to shape many things, I think, for years to come, things that we don't even know, in terms of the changes that it will make to education and everything else. So thank you all. It's good. I'm really looking forward to when we can actually get together and Dr. Ruskin doesn't have to do this. So thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Murphy. Thank you. Okay, who would like to speak next? Comments? Mr. Mena?
Yeah, so besides all of those great things happening on the academic side, it is really, really cool and nice to see athletics actually kicking off at the schools as well. I did stop on by the high school right before this game and believe it was our first high school home event tonight, field hockey. So the girls are actually there competing now as we speak. I know that the athletic department and the athletic boosters are really pushing hard on offering discount subscriptions for our NFHS network, so that parents who can't attend, parents and family members who can't attend, because again, there is a limit to the number of folks who can attend those games. They'll be able to watch. So it was great. We looked like the athletic department had things pretty organized. They had a list of the parents who were able to enter, and it seems to be running pretty well. So I was just really excited to see that. I'm also excited to see football come back. That kind of happened last minute. I kind of checked out with football. I really didn't think we were going to see anything with that until spring, and I was going to start working on doing some stuff with cross country. But now I've, looks like I'm going to be working two events this fall. And with regards to cross country, I don't know if you guys know this, but this has kind of been a dream of our coaching staff for cross country, is to actually have a course right on the Novi high school property, basically. And on, I think, September 19th, their first home event that they're planning on having right here at the high school property is planned. So that's going to be really exciting. I know a lot of the athletes and their parents came out recently to do some cleanup of the trail. So I know that's something still in progress, but a lot of great stuff going on. Again, not just on the athletics, on the academic side, because certainly I agree with what a lot of folks have said. We're just doing a lot of great things there, and a lot of the feedback that I've gotten back has been great. But there's also like this extracurricular side now, and it's really nice to start seeing some of that coming back. To me, it's sort of adding some normalcy to sort of what's been going on. So again, that's all I really have now.
Thank you, Mr. Mena. Mrs. Murphy?
Are we just allowed to go to whatever events we want? I mean, I saw that. No, we are not. I see you shaking your head, Steve.
No, there will be a list. Only certain number of people can go in. Two adults or two people per participant, and so we'll get out the communication to everyone so you'll know the rules exactly. But there is a limited number, and it's not open to just anyone to walk in.
Okay, I meant like if I wanted to go, how would I go about? Would I need to contact the athletic department? Like, what would the process for that?
I'll share some additional information tomorrow in the weekly.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mrs. Roney?
I'm not sure if you guys all get the communications from the First Robotics, but one of our robotics student and his parent was featured in a GM commercial with our little robot. So I think that's awesome. And then kudos out to all of you guys, the administrators, Dr. Matthews. That was a wonderful video. I hadn't had a chance to watch it before the meeting we had on the 3rd, but it was just awesome. And I have to tell you, on Tuesday, when I heard the little school bus go by, it was just wonderful. It's like, oh my gosh, it's back. So I thought that was great. Kudos, everyone's doing a great job, and I know we will continue here in Novi. And that's all I really have to say.
Mrs. Roney? Any other comments? Mrs. Hood's quiet. Mr. Cook? Okay. All righty. So again, I just want to reiterate, RJ, I hear you loud and clear that this has really taken a toll on our staff and administrators, and we just really, really appreciate both the board and all of them putting their baby toe in and then kind of jumping right in. I hear from other parents in other districts, other board members in other districts, other teachers in other districts, how they wish that potentially they would have maybe taken the risk. And they know it's a risk, and they know it's a risk emotionally, and they know it's a risk health-wise, but that they just wish that they maybe would have taken the risk and worked through that logistics prior to, because now they're ready and they're in, but maybe there's not enough time there, and they know the work that needs to be done to make it happen. And they've run into some really serious complexities that potentially we avoided by you all trusting and working with your team to see what you could do to give our parents a choice is really what it boils down to, whether they have in-person learning for their students or virtual. So we hear what you're saying, and we gratefully appreciate you all. So I'm not sure that there's any further comments. We have some quiet board members tonight. I'm sure as things move on, we'll have lots of activity going on here in the district. And I think I'll just ask for a motion to adjourn. I see Mr. Cook like getting excited to be it's 8:01. I didn't really beat Tom, but that's okay. We're close. It's actually 8 o'clock.
I'll move to adjourn.
Support.
Okay. Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Murphy. If we can get a roll call vote, Mr. Mena?